Welcome into the Los Angeles Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I am Chase Sr. The Lakers season is over. Their title defense is over. For the first time in LeBron James' career, he goes out in the first round of the NBA playoffs, and for the first time since 2011, an NBA Finals will not feature either LeBron James or Steph Curry. Crazy times in the NBA. Let's break down this Game 6 loss and look ahead to some of the questions that remain for this Los Angeles Lakers organization. So it all started on a down note for the Lakers because Anthony Davis tried to return in Game 6 after suffering that left groin strain in Game 4. Well, less than 6 minutes into the game, he re-aggravated that injury, left the game, and did not return. Went back to the locker room, and he was just in too much pain, and the Lakers deemed him unable to come back into this game, and that was a sign of things to come, and it really set the momentum for the rest of the ball game because in the first half, the Lakers went down by as many as 29 points. Devin Booker went off for 33 points in the first half, and despite the Lakers making a late surge in this game to try to come back with a heroic comeback effort, they fall short. Their season ends, and now the Phoenix Suns are marching on to the second round of the NBA playoffs, where they will take on the Denver Nuggets. I talk about Devin Booker. If people aren't already just amazed at how good this guy is, still in his early 20s, Game 6 has to prove you otherwise. He was tremendous, he was outstanding, he was clutch, and he was getting buckets from the opening tip. 33 points in the first half, 47 points for the game. There was no way that Devin Booker was letting this series go back to Phoenix for a seventh game. D-Book took care of business tonight at the Staples Center. LeBron James, on the other hand, without Anthony Davis, the Lakers, they ran out of firepower, and LeBron just couldn't shoulder the load that became a little bit too much. He's 36 years old. He needs another sidekick. He was still pretty solid in this game with 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists on 11 of 26 shooting. But in the fourth quarter, after a long stretch where he just didn't come off the floor for a while, LeBron was gassed because he didn't have any help. You saw what AD did in games 2 and 3. Looked like the most valuable player in his series. But from that left groin injury on, Lakers just weren't the same team offensively. Defensively, they lost so much versatility as well as just that lethal factor on the offensive end because AD in games 2 and 3 was just tremendous. Some of the Game 6 conclusions from me. AD going out as early as he did was brutal because I think the Lakers realized they had no chance of winning this game without the services of a generational superstar that is Anthony Davis. And also for a Phoenix Suns team that is very young and playoff inexperienced and somewhat ripe when it comes to the postseason outside of Chris Paul, they were not scared at all, and they were putting the pedal to the metal right from the get-go in this game. I was impressed with how the Phoenix Suns came out of the gate. And we talk about Devin Booker. He was just cashing in. Almost dropped a 50-piece in a critical Game 6. Shout out to D-Book for showing out. And Chris Paul in the fourth quarter. Look, he wasn't the MVP type of Chris Paul that we saw throughout the entire regular season. But at the end of the fourth quarter, when the Lakers tried to make that furious comeback, CP3 navigated the game and controlled the game with a calming nature, letting his Phoenix Suns teammates know that everything was going to be okay. We weren't going to choke this game away. We have this under control, and we're moving on to the second round of the NBA playoffs. Laker Nation, I'm surprised that the Lakers have been eliminated in the first round, and their defense of the Larry O'Brien trophy is over in the span of 6 games. Yes, they dealt with injuries all year. I'm not as surprised that they lose this series because Anthony Davis did go out. But in the grand scheme of things, I am surprised. Are you surprised that the Lakers season is already over? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Be sure to flood the chat and get your votes in down below. Before we look ahead to some of the massive questions that remain and hover over this organization going into a critical 2021 NBA offseason, make sure you are subscribed to the Lakers Report. because all of the latest news and rumors that happen and come to light surrounding the Lakers, we have you covered here at Chat Sports. We're bringing you the best Lakers news and rumors and just overall coverage on YouTube. So either hit that big red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/LakersTV to stay up to date with everything that happens with the Lakers during this pivotal offseason. It was a really entertaining first-round series between the Lakers and the Suns, and through 3-4 games, it looked as though it was going to go the distance, and it had all of the feelings of a Western Conference Finals matchup, and it all started with the first game. Phoenix, at home, they come out the gates, win it 99-90, thanks to a big game from Devin Booker, a really solid performance in this game as well as the entire series from DeAndre Ayton. What you saw from the Suns in this series, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, players with not a lot of playoff experience, growing up before our eyes. In Game 2, after Anthony Davis called himself out and said, we're not going to win this series if I play like I did in Game 1, AD responded to his own criticism with 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. That included a monster second half where he really carried the Lakers for a large portion of that second half. Lakers able to even up the series at 109-102 with that Game 2 victory. As for Game 3, Anthony Davis, just like he did in Game 2, dropped 34 points and continued to look like the most valuable player in this series. 34 points, 11 rebounds, 11 of 22 shooting. Lakers able to key in on Devin Booker. He was only able to score 19 points. DeAndre Ayton did his thing, but it was really AD and LeBron as well as Dennis Schroder carrying the load for the Lakers to take a 2-1 series lead. And at this point here on the Lakers Report, I was very confident that LA was going to win this series. Then what happened? Game 4 happened. The Anthony Davis injury happened. And that completely changed the complexion of this series totally. Anthony Davis goes out at the end of the second quarter, grabs his groin, and you knew at that point, given the severity of the injury, the fact that that injury often tends to linger and last for a long time, that the Lakers were in real trouble. LeBron James is not the LeBron James that he was at 30 years old. Or even 32 or 33. He simply needs some help. And without AD, this Lakers team, and LeBron for that matter, just not the same. They lost this game 192, and that momentum for the Suns, and the fact that AD got hurt, carried over into Game 5, where the Lakers got boat raced. They trailed in Game 6 by as many as, 33 points? They lost this game by 30. A listless effort. Dennis Schroder was atrocious in this game. LeBron James was really the only player to do anything of significance. Devin Booker, the common theme in this series, in addition to DeAndre Ayton, him going off, and the Suns, I think, sent a message to the Lakers locker room in this game with a 30-point win. We're not messing around. We're not going anywhere. And that's exactly what came to fruition in Game 6. Suns come out the gate, not scared at all. They didn't fear LeBron James. They didn't fear the defending NBA champions. They put it to the Los Angeles Lakers. Went up by as many as 30-plus points, end up winning this game 113-100. Suns moving on to the second round to take on the Denver Nuggets. And now the Los Angeles Lakers, they are now putting forward and putting together golf plans because their season is done. A big reason for that, Anthony Davis. What can you say about LeBron James? In Game 6, he was good. 29 points. And for the season, before that high right ankle sprain that he suffered at the end of March, LeBron James was playing like an MVP. Unfortunately, that injury really zapped him, and injuries have been just the common theme for this season after the Lakers had a shortened offseason and played so deep into last year with that NBA championship. They were just crushed by injuries this year. And when you look back at this season, that's going to be the key focus is, man, they just couldn't escape the injury nightmares. Anthony Davis, he was injured and banged up really seemingly from the start of the season. And that is something that the Lakers have to think about moving forward. Anthony Davis has simply been too brittle throughout his NBA career, and is he going to be able to be a viable and consistently available number 2 option next to LeBron James? A massive, massive question for the Lakers this offseason. Speaking of offseason questions, let's explore some of them. LeBron James is 36 years old. I still think when healthy, he's the best player in the NBA. But for an 82-game schedule, and for a long playoff schedule, can LeBron James bring it every single night at 36 when he's going to be 37 in December? I don't think so. LeBron at this point of his career needs help, and that's totally fine to admit that. The whole plan for the Lakers was for AD to be that sidekick for LeBron, but unfortunately, injuries keep him out of the lineup far too often, and they're the only thing holding back Anthony Davis from really being one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA, because you cannot deny the fact that Anthony Davis is so gifted. But he's also so maddening and so frustrating because of these soft tissue minor injuries just kind of stacking up over time and really costing the Lakers this season and any hopes of a title defense. Are the Lakers going to be active in free agency? That's another massive question for this franchise. If not, are trades on the way? One of the big things for this Lakers franchise, they don't have a lot of money to spend. So are they going to let guys go, make some trades to try to free up cap space and free up dollars so that they can attract and try to sign some of the marquee free agents who are going to be on the market? We will see. We will continue to break that down here on the Lakers Report. As far as the notable free agents on this roster, Rob Pelinka, LeBron James are going to link up and try to make some decisions. Alex Caruso is going to be an unrestricted free agent. On the open market, he could demand realistically $10 to $12 million. Do the Lakers want to bring him back at that price tag? Can they afford to do so? Talen Horton-Tucker, going to be a restricted free agent. Lakers didn't deal him away for Kyle Lowry at the trade deadline because they like him so much. But I'll tell you this, other teams across the league do like him. They will be willing to offer him a lot of money. Can the Lakers match? Dennis Schroder, an unrestricted free agent. Crazy that he turned down a 4-year, $80+ million contract. I don't think he gets that on the open market. I also think Rob Pelinka is very happy and very enthused that Dennis Schroder did in fact turn that deal down, because I think that would have been costly for this franchise moving forward, given that they are strapped with cash. Montrezl Harrell, a player option. Did you see him in this series? He barely played at all. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if he opts out and decides to hit the free agent market and realizes he's not a fit on this Lakers roster. Andre Drummond also going to be a free agent. I don't think they re-sign him. So too will Markieff Morris. So these are massive questions for the Lakers going into a pivotal offseason where LeBron James is entering his 37 years old season, and AD just can't stay on the floor, and it's wild to think that LeBron has been in the league since 2003. So I say all of this, and I ask you this before we head out. What changes should the Lakers make this offseason? Use the chat, use the comment section as an opportunity to vent your frustrations, let your emotions out, and let me know how you're feeling and what changes the Lakers should make.